And welcome back to the channel, and welcome to the second in my little two-part series about IAM Road Smart's Masters Programme. And in this video I'm going to give you a demonstration drive at Masters level so you can get a slightly better understanding of what's required on the test. Now, first thing I'd say is the test itself will be about 90 minutes long. Now, I could go out and do a 90-minute demonstration drive, but to be honest, I sort of lose people off YouTube at 20-25 minutes. So I'll probably keep this video to about half an hour, something like that. But within that half an hour, I will demonstrate all the different elements that are required on the Masters test. You'll see that it's all about consistency. There's more emphasis on progress, there's more emphasis on good cornering skills, and all those higher level advanced driving skills. So I'm going to start the drive in the way that you would start with your examiner sat next to you. Now actually I'm up in rural Cumbria at the moment, so what would normally happen is that your examiners would meet you somewhere like a motorway service station or a garage forecourt, or somewhere where there are toilets and facilities for a brew and things like that at the start and at the end of the test. But for the purpose, I'm up in Cumbria at the moment, so for these purposes, just think about the driving, don't think about the venue or anything like that. The drive will start with me doing a bit of a cockpit drill, and I'm going to do my old Lancashire Police cockpit drill. You may be taught a different one by your Masters mentor. That's absolutely fine. Just do whatever you've been shown by your mentors, by your observers. But effectively, you know, the old pedals and panels check, static brake test, and a bit of a moving brake test when we set off as well. At the end of the drive, I'll also talk you through my old Lancs Police stopping drill as well. It flows with the commentary. It's something I'm really familiar with. If you've a different stopping drill or something different that you use when you bring the vehicle to a stop and end the drive, then, you know, by all means use that. There is a slow manoeuvring element of the test, and that slow manoeuvring element will be your examiner getting you to reverse into a parking space or something like that. I'm not going to do that on this drive either. We'll just stop in a lay-by somewhere. So without further ado, I'm just going to stick to two cameras. You have the over-the-shoulder camera, you have the roof camera, so you can see what I'm looking at. We'll switch between those two cameras for this particular video, and obviously at the end, you know, if you have any questions at the end, put them in the comments below. So prior to the test starting, your examiner will expect you to just do a quick exterior check of the vehicle. So, you know, checking that the bonnet is closed, the doors are closed, tyres are all in good condition, all that kind of stuff. We can make reference to that when we get in the car. So, I carried out an exterior check of the vehicle. I'm happy that it's safe to continue. Tyres are okay, doors are all closed, bonnet, boot, all that kind of stuff. I'm now going to carry on with an interior check of the vehicle. So obviously I'll make sure the passenger's got their seatbelt on, that their door's closed, that they know how to get out in an emergency, all that kind of stuff. Then I'm going to carry out my interior check, and this is my old Lancashire Police starting drill interior check, if you like, but it makes sure that you haven't missed anything and it settles you into the drive. So the first thing that we check when we get in the car is the handbrake's on, then that the door's closed and secure, that my seat's properly adjusted. Well, I've driven here already, I've already driven today, so the seat and the steering wheel and everything are properly adjusted. And then I'm going to put my seatbelt on. Then I'm going to check the mirrors are adjusted correctly. Again, starting with the centre mirror there, left and right mirrors will be when the ignition is turned on, but of course everything's already adjusted for me, so I don't need to make any adjustments there. Then I'm going to do a static brake test, and the purpose of that is just to make sure there's pressure in the system and that there's no immediate leaks that will prevent us from going any further. Then I'm going to press the clutch, make sure the car's in neutral, and I'm going to start the car with the clutch depressed. So I'm going to check the instrument panel, just wait for it all to settle down. I'm only left with one warning light on, and that's the handbrake light. So according to the panels and the instruments, we are good to go. Turn off the sat-nav for purposes of this, just so there's no distractions while we're making the video. So at this stage, before you move off, you might want to give your examiner a bit of a description of the car that you're driving. So we're driving a Mini Cooper JCW, it's front wheel drive, it's manual gearbox, 6-speed, and it's got, let that fly out. And it's got approximately 230 brake horsepower. So it's a reasonable performance. What I'm actually going to do as well is put the car into sport mode, just to give it a little bit more of a little bit more response, a little bit better response to the accelerator pedal. So before I set off, Couple of observations. It's one of the hottest days of the year today, so we need to keep an eye on temperatures, keep an eye on temperatures on the dashboard, and you know, have a look at road surfaces, things like that, make sure there's nothing that's breaking up. And observations now, I can see I'm on a sort of B road, a rural road. There's a farm up there off to the left, so I'm expecting an entrance on the left up there when we set off. So I'm checking the mirrors now and shoulders, taking first gear. Mirrors again, and then we're going to set off when it's safe. So up to this little junction, and the last thing I'm going to do after I've set off is a moving brake test. So up to about 20-25 miles an hour in second gear, checking the mirrors, stand by for a moving brake test, and a little squeeze on the brake pedal just to confirm that the brakes are pulling evenly, the car's pulling straight under braking, and it's safe to continue. So now going to start with my commentary. Looking in the far distance, I can see the road continuing to bend round to the right. I've already seen the farm off to the left, so I can expect vehicles to be coming out of there perhaps. So I'm moving away from that entrance on approach. Up to the top of the hill, the road's bending round to the right. There's a car in a lay-by on the right-hand side with its side lights on, but he's got a big aerial attached, so he's doing some kind of radio communication. And he's not likely to move off. So near side position on approach to a right-hander. That gives me a better view around the corner. And of course, the longer view I've got around the corner, the longer I've got to stop should something come into view. I've got a long cross view off to the left. There's a coach parked on the near side, so I'm moving right away from that coach in case anybody steps out. And then looking off to the left, there's one cyclist coming towards us. I'm just taking a position up towards the centre line. I'm balancing the car on the gas through these corners. There's the cyclist, keeping a near side position. Hazard lines all the way along here, and I can see a wall line coming up from the left, which looks like a road approaching from the left. Actually, it's a give way for us at the end of the road. And at that junction, I'm going to turn right. So 50 yards, I'm checking the mirrors, braking it down. There's nobody in view at the moment, so I'm not putting a signal on. Coming to a nice smooth stop at the junction. First gear, peep and creep, and then smartly away. So I'm on a slightly wider, more flowing section of National Speed Limit Road now, and it's dropping downhill and round to the left. We've got hazard lines in the centre of the road just to draw our eye to some of the corners and bends. I'm positioning near side for this right hand, a little bit of brakes, off the brakes, and let the car flow through. The acceleration actually is coming from gravity. I'm not really pressing the gas pedal, just a little bit of brakes before the corner, and then let the car build a little bit of speed up for stability through the corner. Keeping the position towards the centre line, but not on it, and definitely not over it on approach to these left-handers. So up ahead, the road continues to bend round to the left. A cyclist there. I always think when I see a cyclist coming towards me, think about who might be coming up to pass that cyclist, because people do really bad overtakes on cyclists sometimes. There we can see the hazard lines go from, the centre lines go from hazard lines to centre lines, so it's slightly less hazardous piece of road. Changing up to fifth gear, keeping my position towards the near side just to extend my view around this right-hander, not letting my speed pick up too much. It's a national speed limit road, which on this road is 60 miles an hour. I'm doing about mid-50s at the moment, which is fast enough, bearing in mind that it's quite a bumpy road and the surface isn't perfect. So extending my view into the distance now. See the road continuing to bend off down to the right. I can see a motorway down in the bottom of the valley, the M6. Obviously this road isn't going to join the motorway. And now I'm taking a position towards the centre line, but not right up to it, just to extend my view around that left-hand bend. So extending my view into the distance now, the road drops down round to the left, and then up in the distance I can see a vehicle with a trailer on going from left to right. That looks like it's our road, so we know it's going to go left here and then round to the right. There's a warning sign there for loose chippings in 100 yards, so I'm going to lose a little bit of speed just because I want to stay in Mrs. Local's good books, really. I don't want to pepper pot a car with chippings, and actually it looks like those chippings have been swept and removed now. So up towards the centre line for this left-hander. It's a nice sweeping left-hander. I'm using the limit point to give me an indication as to how tight or open the corner is, and in this case it's a nice open flowing corner. So up ahead now, the road crests as we go over the top of this hill. We've got another warning sign there for skid risk. It's usually the sign that's associated with those cheap resurfacing jobs that they do where they spray tarmac, put chippings down, and actually it looks as though that skid risk has gone. So the advisory speed limit, and it is an advisory speed limit under that sign, 20 miles an hour, it doesn't seem relevant at the moment. So warning sign there for a junction to the left. I can expect vehicles to emerge in, and there is a weight limit on this bridge. I think we're okay in the Mini. Up towards the centre line now, just to extend my view around this left-hander as we cross the bridge. And keeping that position, and then tucking it back in towards the centre of the road there because of the oncoming car, and keeping a little bit of positive gas on. 2 road signs there, junctions to the left, road narrows from both sides, pedestrians in the road, and accompanied horses and ponies. So there's a riding stable and there's no footpath, so I'm looking out for that. Hopefully pedestrians, if they are in the road, should be on this side of the road walking towards us, and on that side of the road walking away, but you never know. They don't always get that right. I'm also, because the Township sign, expecting a change in speed limit, and there it is, down to a 30. So I'll get it down to 30 just as we get to the signs, and then take 3rd gear. Now, double bends coming up, first to the right and a junction to the left, a repeater sign for the 30. You don't often see those, it's because there's no street lamps here. Just keeping away from these buildings on the left and scanning into the junction on the left there to make sure there's nothing coming out. Keeping a position now in towards the near side as we go around this right-hander. Remember, it's still a 30 limit, and there is another repeater sign there for the 30 limit. Not a sign that you see very often, that. So we've got hazard lines in the centre of the road. There's some markings, some additional markings in the centre of the road here where pock marks and potholes have been marked by the local authority for repair, so that helps me pick out the stuff that I don't want to drive over. In the distance now, I've got a warning sign for a school and an advisory speed limit of 20 miles an hour if the lights are showing. The lights aren't showing, it's a Sunday afternoon, so unlikely to be anything associated with the school, but you know, we'll bear it in mind, there might be movements around. More of those markings around the potholes and scars in the road surface. Now we've got double yellow lines, indicating there should be no waiting on the left hand side, and looking cross through into the village there, we've got a sign warning us that the road narrows from both sides. Now the taxi's waiting for us, thank you very much. Give him a courtesy sign, thank you. Use the left hand for the courtesy sign because people can see it in the middle of the car. And extending my view now around to the right, still a 30 limit, built up area, the road narrows a little bit here, so I'm looking out for any oncoming vehicles. And then extending my view into the distance as we go around the left hand now. We've got parked cars on the left, so immediately I'm going to move my position out. Speed and gear are okay, and I don't need any additional acceleration. But that early move of position gives us a good view. And I'm going to go straight on at the roundabout. Second exit, Appleby, B6260. So checking the mirrors on approach for information. Position's going to be, well, just centre of this single lane. Speed's okay now. Down to second gear and a little bit of acceleration onto the roundabout. Shortest route around the roundabout. Left shoulder check, a left breakaway signal, and then a little bit of acceleration to leave the roundabout as well. Coming back into a 30 limit, so there's no point in going above that speed at the moment. We're going to continue following the road round to the right. Number of signs, 17 ton weight limit, bend to the right, road narrows from both sides, and we've got double white lines in the centre of the road. But when the line closest to us is unbroken, i.e. solid white line, we are not allowed to cross, straddle or park alongside those lines unless one of the particular exemptions apply. So we're back to hazard lines in the centre of the road now, and across the view gives me a view of the national speed limit sign. So checking the mirrors before we accelerate, just to make sure we're not being accelerating while we're being overtaken. And I've got a cross view off to the left over there, and off to the left I can see a warning sign for double bends, first to the left, and I can see a bridge and a chevron board indicating a sharp deviation to the left. So I'm leaving the car in third gear, easing off the gas, a little bit of brakes on approach, coming off the brakes now and just driving the car through with a little bit of positive acceleration. Moving position in towards the near side on approach to this right-hander, keeping third gear, the limit point's moving now, and a little bit of acceleration now. Building the car up. It's a national speed limit road, which on this road is 60 miles an hour. And extending my view into the distance, it's rising up and dropping away. There's a number of crests and dips on this road, and they can hide quite a lot. So these roads have a vertical limit point, making sure that I'm not entering them at a speed that doesn't allow me to stop in the distance I can see to be clear. So warning sign there for accompanied horses and ponies, so there may be a riding stable, something similar nearby. A little bit of gas now to maintain momentum up the hill. But like I say, always able to stop in the distance I can see to be clear. So extending my view now around to the left, keeping a position towards the centre line to extend that view, but not on it and not over it. Now we're going in towards the near side, and as I turn the wheel to the right, just a little bit of gas just to maintain stability through the corner and extend our view into the distance. Going round to the left, squeezing the gas again just to balance the car, applying the principles of good cornering. That's good position on approach, good speed assessment for the corner, the correct gear and acceleration through the corner, and always able to stop on my own side of the road in the distance I can see to be clear. So up ahead now, we've got some buildings coming up. Looks like we're coming into a township. There's a bit of a sign here, and there's a change in speed limit coming up. So I'm checking the mirrors, maintaining some pace, and then braking a little bit later for that speed limit. So we're down to 30 just as we go between the signs. And then once I've passed through the signs at 30 miles an hour, I'll just take a lower gear, third gear, just to hold me at that speed as we go through the 30 speed limit. So there's a warning sign on the offside there for school. Again, time of day, day of the week. Finger post signs indicating that junction off to the right. But let's extend our view into the distance. Let's look into the distance, get a cross view here through the Cheshire railings. I can see the cars parked on both sides of the road up ahead. Oh, actually, that's the road off to the left, and we're going around to the right. There's a warning sign for a playground. And the finger post sign says that we're going towards Appleby. I'm going to wait here behind this badly parked car, check the mirrors, move out and pass him before he has an opportunity to pull in front of us. So there's a warning sign there for road narrows from both sides, and the road's bending round to the left in the distance. It's only a small village this, so I would sort of expect that we'll be back into national speed limit fairly soon. The road continues to bend round to the left, checking the mirrors. There's no vehicles behind us at the moment. And there's the national speed limit sign as predicted, looking across to the right. And as we go into this right-hander, keeping the vehicle to the near side and squeezing the gas to keep it balanced. Towards the centre line, just easing off the gas. The limit point's starting to move and I'm squeezing the gas now. A little bit of positive acceleration through these corners, keeps the car balanced, keeps a bit of weight transfer going rearwards. Squeezing the gas again now for that right-hander. And I want to maintain momentum up the hill as much as I can, but I can also use this uphill to lose a bit of speed if I need to without having to brake, and then squeeze the gas again then just to put that speed back on again. And uphill is nature's brake, gravity. Extending my view right to the far distance. We've only got centre lines here, so not a lot to be concerned about on this little stretch, apart from the road surface, which is a bit pock-marked in places, so I'm just avoiding those potholes and pock marks where I can do. So extending my view now around through to the right. I can see the road bending off to the left, and a finger post for a footpath off to the right and off to the left, and a warning sign for a cattle grid. So there's a little crest in the road here. Thinking about anybody who might be passing that cyclist, I'm ready to deal with them. Extending my view into the far distance. There's some kind of, I was going to say HGV, but probably a horse box just there on the limit of the road, and I can see the road going around to the left of that, so potentially people out on horses up on the moors today. Got a warning sign there for sheep. It's that kind of area in Cumbria, isn't it? So the sheep could be close to the road. We'll keep an eye out for them. And we've got snow poles, which are really just extended marker posts on the left-hand side of the road, just indicating where the road goes. And now we've got, well, not just a sheep, but a cow having a standoff in the middle of the road. So I'm checking the mirrors, slowing the car down on the brakes. Oh, that's a big old beast, isn't it? Look at the horns on that. I think we'll really take our time. Position, speed, gear, second gear, and we'll roll past this big old fella. Afternoon. And now bringing the speed nice and smartly back up to 60 miles an hour, extending our view across to the right, keeping fourth gear now for a bit of flexibility. There's the warning sign for sheep and cows, a bit late. Again, just maintaining a little bit of positive acceleration through this right-hander, just watching those sheep on the near side, and just to keep the car balanced. Extending my view up to the far distance now. I can see some signage on the top of the hill. I can see the road going off to the left, so I'm extending my view there, looking for any vehicles coming towards us, anything that might cause us an issue. Got slow on the road and a change from centre lines to hazard lines, so that's drawing our attention to this crest in the road. And clearly there will be a left-hand bend up here because we've already seen the road going off to the left. There's the warning sign for the left-hander. So on approach to that, just up towards the centre line, not over it, not on it, down a gear, and then squeezing the gas to maintain a little bit of balance through the corner. The car feels really nicely balanced. And you get some nice steering precision through the corner as well if you keep some positive gas on. So up ahead I've got a couple of cyclists side by side, trying to decide whether it's safe to pass them before the crest in the road. They're going to slow down for the hill. It's looking good at the moment. Yeah. So remember, we're planning to follow cyclists on the whole and looking to pass them, but in that case it was nice and obvious that we could get the pass in early before the corner and before we came into conflict with any other vehicles. So up ahead now I can see the road going off to the right and then round to the left. There's a warning sign in the bottom there. I think it's for a cattle grid. Yes, it is, and I can see the cattle grid there. So we shouldn't need to slow down too much for a cattle grid on a road like this. Just try and minimise any inputs as we're going over it. As the road bends around to the left, I'm just towards the centre line, squeezing the gas, keeping the car nice and balanced through the corners. Again, off the gas there, extending my view through the corner and squeezing the gas again. Up into fifth gear, the road's bending round to the left, keeping a position out towards the centre line. The eagle-eyed amongst you may have noticed that I have been using the speed limiter. It's perfectly acceptable to use anything like speed limiter, cruise control, as long as you're using them correctly and accurately. The speed limiter just allows me to worry about one less thing on this road. But of course, you know, if we're coming up to an overtake or something like that, I might just switch that off for safety's sake. Not because I intend to break the speed limit, but just in case I need a little bit extra to get me past something. So up ahead, the warning sign for a bend to the right and a junction to the left. I'm scanning into that junction. So because of the junction on the left, I'm going to take a position towards the centre line on approach. Now I'm going to move my position late. Once I can see there's nothing in the junction, I'll move my position left a little bit later. And that's an example of compromising your position on approach to a corner for the sake of safety. Here's a warning sign for hidden dips and blind summits for 2¼ miles. There we are, hidden dips and blind summits. So extending my view into the distance, I can see the road continuing straight for a while, and then we've got a warning sign for double bends. And it's saying reduce speed now. Checking the mirrors. The first one's to the right, so I'm positioning near side and I'm on the brakes. Off the brakes there, and then we're going towards the centre line, a little bit more brakes, and then down to fourth gear and a little bit of gas through the corner to keep it balanced. All done, nicely timed on approach to the corner. In the distance now, the road's going very straight. In the far distance I can see chevron boards indicating a sharp deviation to the right. But there's a number of dips and crests between here and there. So I'm looking into those dips. We've got a junction to the right, a finger post. I'm scanning into there, making sure there's nothing coming out of that junction. There's another warning sign on the left here, indicating a junction to the left and saying reduce speed now. I can see the finger post and a warning sign for the bend to the right. So I'm off the gas, a little bit of brakes, down to third gear, and then pressing the gas, keeping the car balanced through the corner. Extending my view into the distance now, the road's going around to the right. Near side position, limit point's moving, I don't need to lose any speed, I am just pressing the gas as we go around the corner. Extending my view into the distance now, we can see hazard lines continuing up the hill, got a junction to the left, a couple of junctions to the left, just scanning into those, making sure nothing's coming out. Extending my view up into the distance now. Come over the crest, little entrance on the left there, a few oncoming vehicles, and I'm moving out towards the centre line, just away from that entrance. And now I can see from the tree line the road is bending round to the left as we drop downhill, so I'm looking across to the left see if there's anything I can pick out. The grass is quite long at the moment, that's hiding a lot of the view. Keeping a centre line position there, a couple of pedestrians on the offside, nothing coming towards us, so I'll keep away from them, and then I'm moving away from this little entrance on the left hand side just up towards the centre line, and again extending my view off the top of this crest here, easing off the gas until I can see where we're going. What's going around to the left and up ahead. There's a reduction in speed limit to 40, checking the mirrors, and there's a couple of warning signs as well, junction to the right and double bends, first one to the right, and an advisory speed limit of 25 miles an hour. Well, the speed limit itself is 40 here. I can sort of see why that might be an advisory speed limit. So looking across to the left over the bridge, can't see anything coming at the moment. Extending my view into the distance now. Still in that 40 limit. There's another bit of a township sign here, under which is a repeater sign for the 40 limit. Got some cattle in the field on the near side. So as I come over the crest of this hill now, I'm going to extend my view into the distance. They've just left that driveway. I'll just make sure there's nobody else pulling out of there. There's quite a bit of dirt in the centre of the road here that's been left by tractors and farm vehicles. Nothing that looks that fresh, to be honest, but an indicator that those kind of vehicles are moving around a lot on this road. Another one of those warning signs here for chippings, loose chippings on the road, skid risk, advisory maximum speed limit of 10 miles an hour. So let's judge that for ourselves. I'm not seeing any chippings at the moment. I don't think they've been put down yet. Maybe they put the signage out early, I don't know. There is a sign there, route board, a secondary route board indicating a junction to the right, the tourist destination on it as well. There's the giveaway board and the finger post for the route board. We're continuing on, and there's a change in speed limit there to national speed limit, which on this road will be 60 miles an hour. So I'll take the speed limiter off, check the mirrors, make sure we're not being overtaken, and then squeeze the gas. I'm going to position near side, but bear in mind that entrance on the left. As we approach the right hand, a little squeeze on the gas. And extending my view now into the distance, a little wiggle in the road, hazard lines continue up off towards the right, keeping the car in fourth gear for some flexibility. I'm going to position the car near side here, ease off, let the road, let the hill take some speed off, gear's okay, and then just a little bit of acceleration through there. Extending my view into the distance now, it drops away, there's a warning sign for cattle. And we're coming into Appleby. There's the township sign. We've got double white lines, throwback arrows for the double white lines. You only get those before double white lines and hatch markings. And there's the 30 limit. So we've just got it down to 30 for the signs. And we've got parked cars on the near side, coming into a built-up area, moving away from that junction. She was looking like she was going to pull out in front of us. We've got another vehicle coming up to this junction on the left. It's a Y-shaped junction. We've got to be careful here. They can't see you very easily. And we're okay. The road signs ahead say that the road narrows from both sides, parking off to the left. The road surface is a little bit poor here. There's a footpath on the offside, so I'm not expecting any pedestrians in the road, but there might be. It can get very busy sometimes in Appleby. And we're coming into a 20 limit, so I'll let the hill slow us down to 20, put the speed limiter on at 20 again. And we've got parked cars on both sides of the road. We're coming down to a little town centre area. It's not too busy today on a Sunday afternoon. And yeah, I'm having to use a little bit of brakes to keep the speed down to 20 miles an hour. So just scanning in between all these parked vehicles, looking underneath for movement of feet, looking for anybody that might be stepping out into the road in front of us, who aren't paying attention. Keeping it to the near side here, but keeping an eye on this car on the left. Still in a 20 limit area. And we can see we're coming up to a junction just over the bridge. We're going to turn left at that junction. So I'm checking the mirrors, putting a left signal on. Apply system now, information, position towards the near side, speed on the brakes, gear, first gear and then accelerate out of the junction. And I know now that we're out of that 20 limit, back into a 30. So extending my view into the distance, the warning sign for a junction to the right, there's a van pulling in on the left. He's just put his hazard lights on. The next thing he's going to do is step out of that van just after he's parked it. There's enough time for me here just to pass these before that oncoming vehicle. There he goes, straight out into us. But we'd expected it, and that's what it's all about, predicting what people are going to do. We've given him plenty of time, plenty of room to step into the road, and we timed it nicely with the oncoming vehicle. So extending my view into the distance now. Residential properties all down the right hand side here, looking for vehicles maybe reversing out, pulling out in front of us. And I'm going to follow the signs for Penrith A66. If there is a motorway or dual carriageway near to the area where you're doing your test, the likelihood is that you'll do part of your master's test will be on motorway. So we can, I'm not going to do any motorway on this demonstration drive, but we can join the dual carriageway here in the same way as we would do if we were joining a motorway. So there's a change in speed limit. It is national speed limit, not the 30 on the other side. The sign's been turned around. So extending my view now, double white lines in the centre of the road, unbroken double white lines. We can't cross, straddle or park alongside them. There's the throwback arrows in the other direction. And up ahead we are joining a dual carriageway, so the speed limit will change as soon as we're on the dual carriageway. National speed limit on dual carriageways is 70 miles an hour. We're entering a clearway as the signs dictate. Now we've got a slip road, checking the mirrors, checking the shoulders and accelerating out. We could just about get it up towards 70 and then it's the end of the dual carriageway, so I'm easing off the gas again now and dropping it back down to the national speed limit here, which is 60 miles an hour. So extending my view into the distance, warning signs there. There's an exclamation mark warning sign. We'll have to read what it says underneath it. There's a finger post for a junction to the right. It's pedestrians crossing, and there is a staggered junction first to the left. So I'm scanning into both of those junctions. Just making sure it's clear. There's a marker post on the left there, and just next to a little entrance on the left. And we're still double white lines through here. National speed limit 60 miles an hour. So up ahead I can see the telegraph poles continuing to bend off round to the right. It's giving us a good clue where the road's going. Not really needing to position for view or anything here. It's a national speed limit, 60 mile an hour road, a long extended view off into the distance. You can see some houses and buildings about 2.5, 3 miles off in the far distance up there. So maybe a change in speed limit there. Here we've got a junction off to the left being indicated on the route board, the primary route board, with a secondary junction off to the left. And that indicates that there is a 7.5 ton weight limit on there. Vascar markings in the centre of the road, those little square blocks, little white squares in the centre of the road, they're used by police for speed enforcement using Vascar. It's a bit of an old-fashioned way of doing it these days. I don't think many police forces use Vascar anymore, but clearly it's a road that speed enforcement is carried out, so another incentive for us to keep within the speed limits. Extending our view off to the left, there's a junction off to the right along Martin, so looking for any vehicles that might be emerging from there. Extending my view into the distance again now as we come up this crest. We rise to the top of the crest, I can see the road bending off around to the right. Approach to this left-hander now. I'm not really moving position much towards the centre line. I'm not getting much of an advantage there at this speed. And all that does is put me into conflict with oncoming vehicles. There's a warning sign for a lay-by coming up on the left, 470 yards. So I think we'll stop there and we'll end this particular demonstration drive there. So I'm identifying a safe place to stop. I'm checking the mirrors early. I'll consider putting a signal on. There's one car in the distance behind me, so I will put a signal on. Checking the mirrors again. I'm applying the brakes early and lightly. Pulling into the lay-by and stopping close to the curb, but avoiding scrubbing the tyres or hitting whatever that, I think it's a goose. coming to a nice smooth stop, putting on the handbrake, putting the car into neutral, cancelling the signal. I'm coming off the clutch, and then I'm coming off the brake, turning off the engine, and then I'm going to select a parking gear, in this case first gear, because I want two methods of holding the car while it's stationary. And then I can take my seatbelt off, and the drive is over, and we can have a conversation with the examiner. So there you go, that's my demonstration drive at Masters level. I think one thing we didn't really get to do on that drive was catch up with anything and do any overtakes, but it was quite a quiet section of road. But hopefully you can see there that you know, we've driven progressively within the speed limit. We've kept the car nice and balanced through corners all the way through. I've managed to, during my commentary, I've kept a commentary going throughout. Now, all right, I know a lot of people say, well, you know, you're an expert in commentary. I've been doing this kind of driving for 25 years. Commentary is something you're going to have to practice, but all the good principles are in there. One of the tips about commentary I'd give you is, you know, make it your own. Inject some of your own personality into your commentary. Make it your own. Make it conversational with your examiner as well. They might be asking you some questions and checking your knowledge as you're going around on the drive. And you know, just by all means point out things that might be amusing, or you know, you can have a little laugh about. It helps keeps the atmosphere in the car relaxed, and it helps you continue to flow with your commentary. But when all things said and done, commentary is simply telling me what you can see and what you're going to do about it. That's it. So that's it. If you could drive to that level, that was I would say that was ones in every element. We didn't really demonstrate anything around overtaking, but the opportunity didn't arise. So if it doesn't arise, you can't do it. And there's nothing to mark you down on. Certainly we're progressive, certainly we were legal and safe, and we were driving to the system and all the rest of it. That should give you a bit of an indication of the level and the standard that is being looked for on your Masters test with IAM Road Smart. So I'll wait for this lot to go past. So hopefully you found that useful. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it as well. Even if you're not interested in doing your Masters, maybe you've picked something up from that drive that you found useful. Please subscribe to the channel. I do motorcycling stuff as well. I do lots of other advanced driving and motorcycling stuff. I've got a trip to India coming up in a couple of months, so I'll be uploading videos about that as well. That's always worth coming back to the channel for as well. And go and have a look at the website, reglocal.com. There's loads more information there about advanced and performance driving and riding. Information about how you can get a day's driver coaching with me if you want, or rider coaching, and I do cover Masters on those if that's what you want. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Don't usually end these videos in a lay-by, I'm usually still driving, aren't I? But thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.